I've started it already. I've took the battery out and I've got the air filter out. I'm now going to get this battery tray out. It's just a matter of a few 10mm nuts and bolts. Get the battery tray out and I'll show you what else we've got to do. And yeah, we'll get onto it. So guys, that's the battery tray out, and now you can sort of see everything that we need to see. We need to get these gear linkage cables off. It's just a clip that pulls off here. That simply just pulls off, comes up, and these both pull out. And then we can get the 3 bolts out for the cage that they sit in. I normally just zip tie it up, keep it out of the way. Our clutch cable needs to come out. Starter motor again, literally just put that in a few days ago, but take that one out as well. And then other than you get 2 gearbox mounts, but we don't want to do that yet. I want to finish everything underneath first. That's up here done. So that's the gear linkage out. It's just a nut there, 2 bolts there. They go in there and there, and the nut goes on here. Just lift that out. I've just zip tied that down to the breather. Clutch pipe out, I've just wedged it up there to stop all the .4 coming out. There's a sensor here, and there's a sensor on the back. Unplug them, get the starter motor out, and then we'll move to the bottom. The starter motor, as you can see, is just 2 18s and a 13 for an earth. And then obviously a 13 for the power cable and a plug. So I'll get them out and I'll get back to you then. So we've got it to there. Top bolt for the starter motor's out. All the plugs and connections are all out. Now we're going to bring it round. We're going to crack the wheels loose, jack it up, get it on jack stands, get the wheels off, and I'll show you from there. So guys, now we're underneath. You can see we've got our other starter motor bolt up there. Up there. We're going to get this boost pipe out of the way. There's a few bottom bell housing bolts, dog bone mount, and all the M sockets in the drive shafts. We'll get the drive shafts out, get the starter motor out, get the bottom nuts out, support the engine, and then we can pull the box out. Guys, that's all done under there now. I've got this drive shaft out, that drive shaft out, just balancing them. That one's zipped up out the way. That one does push back far enough, just had to take that bottom ball joint off. All the bottom bell housing bolts out, starter motor out, dog bone mount unattached. So from under here we're ready. I'm now going to show you how I'm going to support the engine and what else I've got to do at the top, and then we get the box out. That's how I'm supporting the box. Don't worry, that's not, the jack isn't touching this plug, but you do want to get it on a strong bit of the sump, so a bend. Don't really want to be putting it on the flat, so I've gone for that bend. It's in there strong, holding up the engine now. Let's get to the top. All there is left to do on the top is these 2 bell housing bolts. There's one there and one there. You want to leave the top two in until last. And then we've got 2 gearbox mount bolts here. We're going to take these off. I believe they're 18s, and then I'm going to try and get this mount off as well. It just makes it a little bit easier. 16s. So I'm going to get gearbox mount off, try get that mount off, 2 bell housing bolts, get underneath, and lock the gearbox off. Let's get into it. So that's now everything out. You can take that last bolt out. The box will stay on there because it's on the input shaft. If you do feel a little bit scared or worried that the box is going to fall off, you can always just chuck one of the bottom bolts in. And then if you're doing it how I am, on the floor, we haven't got a ramp yet in the unit, you can obviously take the bolt out, wiggle it out, drop it down onto your chest, scoot it out, and then get to changing the clutch. So I'm going to take out that top bolt now, and then get under there and wiggle it out, and I'll show you the old clutch. In a cup. I thought that was going to happen. So guys, that's the gearbox out. What a nightmare of a job that was. I'm now going to take all of the pressure plate bolts off, and then we can get the flywheel out. So that's the clutch and the flywheel off. I'm going to get the new one on now. Just a matter of literally a few bolts on the crank, holding the flywheel on, and then a few bolts on the flywheel, holding the pressure plate and the friction plate in. Then we're going to get the gearbox back in and get it all bled up. So that's the flywheel on now. Make sure to be locked in the bolts. You don't want them coming loose. Now we're going to put the friction plate on. We're going to line it up with the dowel in the middle, put the pressure plate on, and bolt it all in. So guys, that's the clutch all installed. You want to do these in a sort of crisscross opposite sort of pattern. You want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, like, it doesn't really matter what order you do it in, but just a star pattern to make sure it's going on their dead center. Don't just buzz one up and buzz the other one up, and just do them all evenly and slowly get around with a little bit of Loctite. Time to get the box back on. I will say, with lining up the friction plate into the pressure plate, you want to get that dead center. There is a tool that you can buy. You can do it with a socket. I definitely didn't do it with a socket.
Okay.
But there is a tool that you can buy. That is the proper way of doing it. Socket works absolutely fine. On the hundreds of clutches I've done, I've always used a socket and I've never had a problem. So let's get the gearbox back on now and we'll go from there. So that's one bolt in the bottom. I'm just going to chuck another one in the top. There's 2 dowels on this gear. There's dowels on a lot of, pretty much, I'd say any gearbox have dowels, so you've got to line it up with 2 little dowels. My ones are here, and one's here, and one's at the back. So you just got to line up on them, chuck a bolt in and it'll hold it. I normally just get one in the bottom to start off with, because obviously I'm under there when I'm lifting the gearbox up. And then come to the top and just chuck one in the top as well. And then you can get the mount back on and go around and do the rest. So, yeah. That's one in the top. I'm now going to get the mount back on, get it bolted back up, go around, do the rest of the bell housing bolts, get the start motor back on, get the dryer shafts back on, and then get the clutch cable back on, clutch hose back on. Get the gear linkages in, get it bled up, and see how we go. Let's get into that. So, just got the mount lined up with the bolts in a little bit. Just catching the threads, I'm going to just buzz them in. 1, 2, and then there's just one at the back here. 3. And then you can jack the engine back up to where it's got to be. Just give it a little bit of a helping hand. It's roughly where the engine's got to be. And then we just drag it in place and get the bolts started. You don't want to put too much pressure, because obviously, as you remember, we are. Oh, let me just drop the bolt. Like I was saying, you've got to remember, guys, we are just on that sump. Now, it is absolutely fine to go on the sump like that. Like I said, out of all the clutches I've done, I've never had a problem. You just don't want to put too much, like, you'd probably get away with it, but personally I don't like putting too much pressure on the stump, because obviously, well, on this one it is only aluminium, so probably, if you got a little bit too harsh with it, it probably would go through, yes, but just balancing on there, just while we take the gearbox out. No, it'll never go through like that. I am just going to get an 18 and gun to make my life a whole lot easier. And with these, you don't want to just go buzzing them up, you want to sort of pull it on. So it's not quite on. I like to get them pretty much bang on. So that's the ends of the engine. You can now drop the jack holding the engine. I always just loosen these off a little bit now. Now the engine's on its own way, you don't want to be buzzing them all the way out. But I do loosen them up just a little bit, because you sort of get to, you use a little bar, you sort of do get to push them out to sort of where it's got to be. I've always found it best doing one. Getting one thereabouts there. I'm just using the bar to centralise them. This isn't a mess. You don't have to do this at all, to be honest. You can just leave it. It's just something I've always liked to do when doing these. Something I've always done. As you can see, it's pulled more in line. That's one. That's two. You don't want to buzz them all the way out with a gun because you'll probably end up stripping the threads. These are these little clips, just take them off. There was one there. This is actually the other one. And then with these, just get a little something to cut that zip tie. Just cut that. Like I was talking about earlier, with the rod going here, that's actually a bell housing bolt with a rod on the end. Just dropped it again, rod on the end. So that can now go in. And then one at 18. Obviously you're going to need a deep socket to get over that thread and onto the actual bolt. Tighten it up, make sure it's tight. Be good. And then you've got your thread there that you can then pull your gear cables onto. And then you've got your bolts, 13mm bolts. And nuts that hold your cables on. in there. Just get it on by hand. And then another bolt. They're all 13s. And you can get a little 13. And just finish them off. I would recommend doing this one first. A little smaller extension to get in there. Should be fine. I would recommend doing this one first just because it pulls it in. If you snug up the bolts too much, they are on bushes, so it wouldn't make so much of a problem. But I would recommend doing this one first. It is the longest thread, but the most unnecessary place. Snug that one up. The only reason our engine is doing this is as you can remember that if you can't, I'm going to show you the dog bone mount. If you remember, we took that off, and that mount basically does stop your engine from rocking. That's his main job. Just start this one off without the ratchet. And then you can get on with the ratchet. They ain't got to be too tight. You don't want to strip them. And then you can just push your cables back on. Put your clips back on. 1, 2. And then I like to just go inside now, just make sure I've got all the gears before I start putting everything else on. So we've got all the gears. Now we're gonna finish off the bell housing bolts up here, get the start motor back on, get our clutch hose back in, and then we'll bleed it up, and then we'll do underneath, and we're done. So that's all the bottom put back together now. Starter motor's all on, all the bell housing bolts are on, linkages are on, mounts on. Now I'm gonna put the battery tray in, I'm gonna get it down on the floor. Clutch is already bled up. Get it down on the floor, get the battery in, get the air filter back on, and we're done. So that's it all back together now, guys. It's all engaging absolutely fine, runs absolutely fine. So I'm happy with that. If you're still watching this video, I just want to say thank you, and that's all for putting the clutch in the van today. Stay tuned for the next videos. I'm absolutely knackered, so I'll catch you in the next one.